Good day yet again, peeps, and happy Veterans Day. And as a veteran myself, I just thought I would share some things, some insights, being that there is another epidemic going on of homeless veterans, alcoholic, opioid addicted, suicidal. There's a lot of issues within the veteran community and their PTSD, of which most people assume is solely tied to just their experiences in a combat zone, which is not always the case. Because I've met quite a few that have never deployed anywhere but still technically got their benefits and disability through PTSD. Now I think there's a couple reasons for this. Well, one main reason for this that I would like to share with you. On this Day of the Veterans, since everyone's thinking about them, I'll give you something to ponder. And I myself, as one of these veterans that was one addicted to opioids for a little bit, an alcoholic, homeless, still technically homeless, and then I was also suicidal for a while. So I'm a conglomerate of all these things. And this is why I want to share my perspective. Now for me, I was kicked out of the Marine Corps back in 2009, is when they finally kicked me out, and then I actually left in 2010 for being a designated driver, which I know some people will be like, what? That doesn't make sense. Which I kind of agree, it doesn't really make much sense. But to offer some backstory. So when I first came back from Iraq, I did get in trouble for a DUI getting onto base, even though I understand I was wrong in a slight defense, like it wasn't much alcohol. It wouldn't have been counted as a DUI in the state of North Carolina. But that's beside the point. And then so towards the end of my contract, I had no more tours. I already did my 2 tours, and I was just waiting for my contract to expire. And my first unit was going to Afghanistan, and I was leaving, so they were having a party, and there's some drunk friends called me up and like, hey, you want to come with us? I hadn't been drinking yet, so I was like, oh, I'll go drive you guys there. So we got pulled over on base. I was not allowed to drive on government property, and so I got reprimanded, of which it first started off as like, oh, we're not going to do anything because you were helping your brothers. And then the second day became, oh, we got to do something, so we're going to just take some rank and some pay for you for a little bit. An NJP, non-judicial punishment. And then the third day they called me up again, like, oh, we're just going to kick you out. And this was the first insight or beginning of my questioning. The whole basis of a military community built upon camaraderie and brotherhood, and of which it seemed, or I felt as if I was just easily disregarded. And it's the reason I share this with you is that I don't think I was the only one. In fact, when I was going through the process and ended up in the Brig military jail, there was over 120 other people being kicked out of the Marine Corps as well at that time. Now there was a big drug issue. They found heroin and stuff on some people, and so I guess there was some reasoning for people's expulsion. But there was one guy in there that I met that was in there for smoking the cigarette in the wrong place. Being that there is no psychological aid or assistance for people that have PTSD, like I had a drug overdose and then ended up in the hospital and then was put into prison. And what actually led me to end up in the Brig was my attempted suicide that I normally just refer to as a drug overdose for ease of explanation. But the reality is that I thought my future was stripped from me, right? The last 4 years I just went through my 2 tours in Iraq and the entire military experience of being in the Marine Corps and all the shenanigans that entails. I had my DUI, and now I was been trying to do the right thing by being a designated driver, and then that was the reason why I was losing my future. That my future was stripped away for doing what I thought was right, but of which I'm actually quite thankful for. A near-death experience does wonders for your perception and your perspective on life. Now me looking back on it, I look at it as a very pivotal moment for me and very beneficial. So after I got out of the Brig and was awaiting my departure from the Marine Corps, that was a whole nother experience in and of itself, of how downplayed and or talked down to from my superiors, and basically just amounted to being a pathetic waste of time to them all. And they saw to it to inform me of that every single day, that I had to deal with them. And then, of course, through this time, I was never, there was no psychological evaluation, there was no questioning to my motives. It was just complete disregard and honestly kind of disrespect of a fellow human being. And there's a lot of that in the military. They say it makes you strong and this and that, but I think an empowered person is much more powerful than a disempowered person, especially when your whole point is to create that camaraderie. Some of these other people that were there with the drug issue, again, there was no assistance on the military's part, right? Their answer to that was to throw people in jail and then kick them out and strip them of their benefits. You really think that's going to be beneficial for these people that did offer up their lives, seemingly for their country, and then just to be tossed aside for not being able to handle their psychological issues from the things they've experienced. And so now this leads me to my second point of what were we fighting for? A lot of this from my time period, grew up with the whole 9/11 experience, and thought we were going to do some good, and we were fighting for our country and for freedom, at least for me and my perspective. But then when I went to Iraq and met the people, and that there was actually a lot of good people that had good hearts, and beginning to question, like, okay, why were we here? Right? Because again, going back to like, oh, it was 9/11, but then the passports that were magically uncovered unscathed at the scene of the crime were all Saudi Arabian and not Iraqi in any way. And then there's the weapons of mass destruction, with which nothing was ever found. So why were we there? For me, I started questioning, like, are we the good guys? Are we really doing what's right, or are we just pawns pushing an agenda for somebody else? I can only speculate on anything besides that, but this is something I'm just sharing, as this is what I was questioning. But it was the realization, at least for myself, that maybe I wasn't the good guy, the questioning of that. That what were the motives of our government? Why were we in Iraq? Why was I putting my life on the line? Because it obviously wasn't for freedom or defense of our nation or of our people. There was something else there. I'm not going to get into the conspiracy part of like the possibilities and the speculation of what it could have been, of why we were there. I just wanted to share this as a means to help better understand why there is such a, at least from what I think, why there is a prevalence of PTSD in homeless veterans and veterans with issues. The mistreatment of our government towards our veterans, there isn't adequate help for the psychological aspect, or at least it's hard to get. Right? Even the VA for health, legitimate physical health issues, is hard to do, and it's this long drawn out process. And so a lot of people are just like, I just don't want to deal with it, so I'm just gonna go elsewhere. And it seems like the psychological aspect is even more lacking, and that's where like the questioning of if I was the good guy or not, or maybe I was the pawn for being the bad guy, is another psychological issue that's not addressed. And so with that, I leave you with this question. This is a government of the people, for the people. Do you think that they're really working in the service of the people? Now it's becoming more obvious, right? Where's that second stimulus that's shut down a lot of businesses and work, even though they say like, oh, unemployment's low. But you can't trust these numbers anymore. And these statistics, it's just numbers on a screen, parroted off by some people that are paid to sell you a story. But you can't just shut people off from work and shut down an economic system and then not offer any aid, any flotation to go through this. Do you think that our government is actually in service of the people anymore? Because it is, even last, 2008, in that economic crash, right? They put stimulus, but where did they put it? They put it into the banking system, and what did they do with that? It was supposed to be a way to help people get loans through the banking system, because now they're flooded with money. And so people could easily get loans to help people float through that time of economic uncertainty. And what did the banks do with it? They gave themselves raises and big bonuses and made it hard for people to get loans, and still evicted a lot of people, and a lot of people lost their homes and whatnot. This time was no different. There was a stimulus. We got a little bit of it, but it's still, the majority of it still went to the banking system and Wall Street. Who is your government serving? Is it a government of the people, for the people anymore? I don't know. It's up to you to figure that out. No one can hold your hands in figuring out the truth. You have to be willing to seek that truth out for yourself. So enjoy this day. And until next time.